701. Roar of the Ice Dragon. It was like a hurricane, covering almost the entire body of Daliola, and countless ice chips mixed with the energy of ice, destroying everything along the way. It seemed that even the space was about to be frozen. Even the people who stayed outside the barrier could not help but feel a chill from their bodies. What a powerful magic! Their hearts were shocked beyond words. Even through the barrier, it can actually make people want to tremble. Is this the power of Naruto? Is this the power needed to complete the Centennial mission? At this moment, everyone present couldn't help but feel a deep sense of powerlessness. In the face of this magical intensity, what is Daliola? Although Gray and Natsu knew Naruto's power for a long time, they still felt so shocked when they saw him perform magic again with their own eyes. The power of the strong can always make people rush to the heart. The powerful breath of the ice dragon lasted for more than 10 seconds before dissipating. At this time, when everyone saw Daliola clearly, his whole body was almost riddled with holes, and ice chips were pierced into the body everywhere. However, there was no blood on his body, because all the blood had been frozen by this blow. With a wave of Naruto's hand, the barrier was revoked, and then he landed in front of Gray and the others, waved his hand and said, "Let's go back, he has been resolved." "What? Is he dead?" Leon asked in disbelief. "It only took 2 tricks. Did you get rid of the monsters that your group of people couldn't defeat? How can this be believed? Is this just joking?" However, in the next moment, the doubts in their hearts disappeared quickly, because Daliola's huge body suddenly cracked and shattered, turning into countless icy fragments and disappearing from everyone's sight. "In the blow just now, I have frozen everything about him, so he will shatter together with his life," Naruto explained with a slight smile looking at the stunned crowd. It took 2 tricks to solve Daliola. In fact, Naruto had already used his real strength, so he used the barrier to block it. Otherwise, just relying on his own momentum, he would shock the people present. The roar of the ice dragon with all its strength seems to be overkill, and it is really more than enough to use it on Daliola. The power of ice can freeze everything. "Okay, Daliola was killed, what are you going to do, Leon?" Naruto came to Leon and said that he had lived with them for a while when he was a child, and he also hoped that Leon could get out of the psychological shadow. Leon's body trembled, he looked up at Naruto, his eyes were blank. "You actually solved Daliola, then what have I been working hard for? My hard work, isn't it all in vain?" Leon suddenly shouted at Naruto. Naruto shook his head. "It was your initial goal that was wrong. I can understand your desire to surpass Ulu, but you shouldn't be so blasphemous for the success that Ulu has exchanged for most of his life. That's the only way I can surpass her. Because she's dead," Leon exclaimed. Naruto just smiled and glanced at Gray. Gray stepped forward and said, "Leon, Ulu, she is not dead. Now only Naruto knows her whereabouts." "What? Ulu isn't dead?" Leon couldn't help but stunned, and then his face showed a look of ecstasy. "Where is she then?" Gray looked at Naruto and said helplessly, "Naruto didn't tell me." Naruto heard the resentment in Gray's mouth and smiled lightly. "Ulu is now recovering in a quiet place, and I will naturally bring her out to see you when the time comes. Of course, you probably can't wait to see her. I'll take you there to meet you." "Really?" Gray's face was full of surprise when he heard this. "Well, because her injury was very serious before, I didn't dare to let you go to her. Now she's almost healed, it's nothing to see you." "Really, that's great." Gray laughed happily, and Leon also showed a look of joy. "Okay, let's go back to the village first, and Leon, are you going back to the guild with us?" "Forget it, I don't want to go to a place like the guild." Leon refused lightly. "The guild is a very good place. Leon, you really should find a guild to experience it," Gray said beside him. "Cut." Leon curled his lips. "Don't preach to me. Let's go." He waved his hand and left with Yuka and the others in the opposite direction. "Oh right, the people in this village said that they were turned into demons because of the purple moon. Do you know what happened?" Naruto asked suddenly before leaving. Leon and the others were stunned for a moment, and Shirley turned back and said, "Since we came to this island, we haven't had contact with people from that village, but we were also under the moonlight, but we didn't turn into demons." "Well, I see you next time." Naruto waved at them, turned around and left with Natsu and Gray. Shirley looked at Naruto's back, and couldn't help being dazed. "Hey, Shirley, it's time to go," the kobold yelled at her. Only then did Shuili come back to her senses, with a look of infatuation on her face. "What a strong and gentle man. This is love." "Che, you're crazy again," Yuka said helplessly. When the three of Naruto returned to the villagers were all waiting. At this time, it was already midnight, and the purple moon in the sky was particularly dazzling. The villagers, more or less, have some parts of their bodies that have turned into demons, which are ferocious. "Magicians, why haven't you destroyed the moon, and how long will you be investigating? We can't stand this anymore," the village chief shouted excitedly towards the returning Naruto. Naruto frowned slightly. "According to my observation, the appearance of you turning into demons does not seem to be because of the moon, because we also had friends who lived on this island for a long time before, but they did not have symptoms like yours." 702. Mission ended. After hearing Naruto's words, the villagers couldn't help but start to talk. If it is said that other people living on the island do not have such symptoms, and only people in this village do, is this because there is something wrong with the people in the village? It seems that the matter of turning into a demon is most likely not because of the moon. Naruto pondered. "But we only turn into demons on moonlit nights. The light from this purple moon can make our bodies mutate. Are we fake now?" Some villagers began to shout. Naruto suddenly waved to one of the big men, "Come here." The big man was stunned. The village chief nodded. He came to Naruto, touched his head, and looked at him in confusion. Naruto stretched out his hand, and a layer of green light suddenly appeared on his hand. The green light covered the body of the big man. He closed his eyes and seemed to be checking something. Everyone stared at him intently. After a while, Naruto let go of him with a clear look on his face. "Sure enough. What's wrong? Did you find anything, Naruto?" Natsu asked. Naruto nodded slightly. "Looks like I know the reason. These people didn't turn into demons because of the moon." "What's that?" Gray asked suspiciously. Naruto smiled lightly and said mysteriously, "Now let's settle the moon thing first." You're not serious, are you? Are you really going to break the moon?" Gray was startled. Natsu got excited. "Haha, I'm burning." The villagers were also very happy after hearing this. If the moon is really destroyed, everyone can be restored to the appearance of human beings. You don't have to worry about turning into a demon anymore. Surrounded by the crowd, the three of Naruto came to an open space and looked up at the purple moon in the sky. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly, and he stretched out his palm and aimed at the moon in the sky. "No way. Is Naruto really going to shoot down the moon? It can't be done anyway, right?" Gray's face was full of disbelief. "This guy is very smart. Is he so stupid now?" At this moment, a powerful magic light suddenly appeared in Naruto's palm. The magic light gathered more and more, and everyone around had a sense of oppression that they couldn't breathe, and even the air became heavy. "Naruto, hurry up and stop, everyone can't take it anymore," Gray reminded. Naruto looked back, only to find that the villagers standing behind him were already kneeling behind him, looking at his back with fear. "Sorry, I'll be fine soon." Naruto's voice just fell, and the magic ball in his hand flew towards the purple moon in the sky with a bang. Boom! The magic ball is like an upside-down meteor, pulling along light and shadow in the air, and then hitting the purple moon with a bang. Click! After the magic ball exploded, the entire moon was blown into pieces in an instant, and then, even the sky was covered with cobweb-like cracks. What? Everyone was shocked when they saw this scene. Did the sky blow up? Is the sky about to fall? And Naruto showed such a look as expected. The next moment, the sky full of cracks suddenly shattered, turning into little purple rays of light that fell like raindrops. The sky has not collapsed, but has returned to its real depth and distance. The stars are dotted above, shining with light. The moon is no longer a purple light, but bright white as always. Beautiful, this is the real starry sky. This is the real moon. What's going on? Gray and Natsu were extremely surprised, as were the villagers. Naruto explained with a smile. There is a special kind of gas nearby that rises into the air over time, where it condenses into a thin film. Under the influence of this thin film, the moon looks like a purple, and the reason why the villagers turned into demons was not caused by the purple moon, but the purple film that affected their memory. Quote. What's going on? Gray and Natsu were surprised. At this time, all the villagers stood up in a daze, with expressions on their faces that seemed both confused and clear. After a while, everyone finally came back to their senses. Naruto turned to look at them and said with a faint smile, "You should know everything, right? It's not that you will become demons, but because you are demons. And this film only affects your memory, making you misunderstand. Consider yourself human." It's unbelievable. The villagers are actually demons. Gray and Natsu were both shocked. At this time, the boatman who brought Natsu and Gray here suddenly appeared in front of everyone. He turned into a demon and explained the whole thing to everyone. It turns out that everyone on Alcatraz Island was affected by this unknown film power, causing memory problems. As demons, they look like humans because they have the ability to transform into humans, but this ability will be affected. Just affect. After explaining everything clearly, the villagers finally all remembered their identities. That night, the villagers held a big celebration feast to celebrate everyone's recovery of their memories. After coming out of this kind of panic, they were very grateful to the three Naruto, the village chief and the villagers who discovered and solved all these things. Repay them by serving them the most sumptuous meal. A night of carnival, the three Naruto enjoyed the feast of demons, and also enjoyed the simplicity of these demons completely different from their surface. Compared with the people outside, the demons on this island seemed to be more kind. Until the next morning, the three of Naruto slept again under the hospitality of the villagers, and did not leave until noon. When leaving, the villagers also warmly said goodbye. What a bunch of cute demons. Naruto murmured. Well, it should be called an angel. Natsu also laughed. Yeah, angelic demon, that sounds weird. 703. Strong Kiss. Returning to the guild on the huge pirate ship, Gray and Natsu were amazed again along the way, watching Naruto pull out the pirate who had been starved for 2 days and let him sail. The two of them couldn't help but be speechless. Naruto turned out to be even more brutal than Urza. To be so abusive to people is simply insane. Back on land, the pirate ship was immediately seized by the local government, and the pirates who sailed the ship were directly caught in. When he met Naruto, he was really unlucky. It took the three of them half a day to finally arrive at the guild. Along the way, Natsu and Gray kept trying to curry favor with Naruto, hoping that he could intercede for the two of them, so that the president would not punish them too much, and they were also willing to hand over all the deposits for this mission to Naruto. In this way, Naruto agreed. When they were in the guild, Makarov was furious at the two of them. Of course, Natsu was the culprit and should be severely punished. The identity of the guide is there. Even if you participate in the mission, it doesn't matter. So, in the end, Makarov scolded the two of them fiercely. He originally wanted to punish the two of them well and let them have a little memory, but after Naruto stood up and persuaded a few words, he stopped entanglement. And soon forgave them. The two were immediately grateful to Naruto. Naruto found a seat and sat down. Mirage's figure soon appeared in front of Naruto, and gave him a drink with a soft smile on his face. Congratulations, Naruto, the mission went well. It's done. Naruto nodded. Thank you. Hee. Oh yes, I almost forgot the gift I gave you. Naruto suddenly stopped her. Mirage turned his head, Naruto shook his hand, and a bracelet strung with various colored stones appeared on his hand. Wow, is this a bracelet? Mirage cheered, and hurriedly came to Naruto and sat down. He happily took the bracelet from Naruto's hand and put it on. It doesn't even feel good. It's really good, Mirage said happily. It's just what I bought in the village, it's worthless. Naruto smiled. That's not the case, you can remember to buy me a gift, I'm really happy. Mirage said with a smile, it doesn't matter if it's worth it. Naruto smiled slightly. Oh, yes, Naruto, I also have a gift for you. Mirage suddenly smiled mysteriously, a trace of Yuhirin flashed on his face, and said, close your eyes. What gift? Naruto asked in confusion. You close your eyes first. Mirage said coquettishly. Naruto was taken aback by her greasy tone, this little girl would not want it. Sure enough, when he closed his eyes, he only felt that a soft object was printed on his lips, and there was a faint fragrance in his nose, the smell of Mirage. Bae. 2 seconds later, the soft lips left, and Naruto opened his eyes, but there was no one in front of him for a long time. Looking at the counter, he saw Mirage sticking out his tongue at him, and the tender face Yuhi looked really charming. What a charming little fairy. Naruto thought to himself. Fortunately, Mirage only kissed Naruto when no one else was paying attention, otherwise everyone in the guild would be a sensation again. At this moment, a strong murderous aura suddenly emerged from behind, and Naruto couldn't help but be stunned. Turning her head, she found that Urza was standing behind her with a gloomy face, her eyes moving from her body to Mirage next to the counter. Elsa, Naruto called to her. Urza said lightly, Naruto, so you're back. Well, yeah, did you just finish the mission too? Naruto asked. Yeah, but I don't have the kind of treatment you have. Elsa sneered, with great jealousy. I haven't seen you for a while, is someone going to take the opportunity to do something bad? Dare you stand up for me? Quote. At the end of the day, Urza was literally yelling, causing everyone around to tremble. Miraja, on the other hand, stood beside the counter with an embarrassed look on his face, and gave Urza an embarrassing smile. Everyone noticed the difference between Urza and Mirage, and they were all attracted. Are these two people? Are you going to fight again because of Naruto's ownership? But no matter how you look at it, Urza has the upper hand, right? Miraja doesn't have much fighting power now. Naruto stood aside and smiled bitterly. At this time, unexpectedly, Urza did not rush up to fight Mirage, perhaps because she also knew that the current Mirage did not have this power, so she was glaring at Mirage fiercely. After a while, suddenly an amazing decision was made. I saw her rushing to Naruto quickly, and then in front of Mirage, she stretched out her arm and hugged Naruto's body, and then she leaned over and slapped his lips fiercely. Wow! In an instant, everyone in the guild was in an uproar. I didn't expect Urza to do such a crazy move. Kissed Naruto in front of everyone. And Naruto, the victim, was a little stunned. Some girls were immediately dissatisfied and whispered in secret, Urza is too domineering. How dare you treat my Naruto like this? Damn Urza, she actually did something that I didn't dare to do. Kana threw the wine barrel fiercely, her face full of unwillingness. In this scene, even the handsome Loki, who was sitting on the side and hugging from side to side, became envious of Naruto. Urza and Mirage were the most attractive women in the guild, but he didn't even dare to touch them. But now they are so downvoted to Naruto. As a man, Naruto is really a guy who defies the sky. However, after Urza kissed Naruto, she felt a burning sensation on her face. At this moment, her heart was beating wildly. Why did I suddenly do such a shameful thing? This kind of thing should be done by the previous Mira, right? Am I doing this out of jealousy? Damn, what a shame to do that. 704. Shopping. Naruto, who was at the center of the incident, was a little helpless. For him, whether it was Urza or Mirage, they were both very good girls. As a man, of course he wanted all of them. However, for Mirage and Urza, this is probably a difficult thing to accomplish. At least, Urza would definitely be jealous. Seeing the commotion in the guild was about to make a fuss, Naruto decided that it would be better to dodge people quickly. The task had just been completed, and the guild was going to be noisy again. He didn't like it. So, just as everyone was about to watch Urza and Mirage fight each other, the culprit, Naruto, had quietly left. Mirage and Urza wanted to continue to fight against Naruto, but they turned around and found that Naruto had disappeared. Walking out of the guild, Naruto wandered aimlessly on the street. Before I knew it, I came to Lucis' door. Naruto. At this moment, Lucis' voice suddenly came from the balcony. Naruto looked up and saw that she was drying her clothes. She was wearing casual clothes, her blonde hair casually draped over her shoulders, swaying gently in the breeze. Lucy, so you're at home. Naruto looked up at her and said. Yeah, I don't want to go to work today, I want to rest at home. Is your task coming back so soon? Lucy cried. By the way, come in and sit down. After she finished speaking, without waiting for Naruto to agree, she came down to open the door. After introducing Naruto into the house, Lucy brought him a bottle of drink and motioned him to sit on the sofa. I'll go dry the clothes first, and Ma-chan will be fine. Lucy chuckled and walked to the balcony. Naruto leaned on the sofa, savoring the taste of the drink, and within sight was a figure swaying slightly on the balcony through the curtains. It's really quiet. Compared to the guild, Lucis' house is much quieter. Gradually, Naruto closed his eyes, relaxed and fell into tranquility. I don't know how long it took, suddenly there was an itchy feeling on the tip of the nose, and Naruto finally woke up, and a faint aroma surrounded him. He opened his eyes, only to see Lucy leaning down slightly, a white jade hand scratching Naruto's nose with her golden hair, and there was a naughty smile on the corner of her mouth. The moment Naruto opened her eyes, she quickly retracted her hair, stuck her tongue out at him, and giggled. Naruto, are you tired? Why did you fall asleep lying on the sofa? Naruto looked at the time, only to realize that almost half an hour had passed since before. Well, I didn't expect that I fell asleep. Naruto touched his nose and couldn't help but ask, have your clothes been dried long ago? Yeah, and I went to change my clothes. Lucy turned around in front of Naruto and winked at him. What do you think about this dress? Naruto glanced at her, and the white tight-fitting vest tightly outlined her graceful figure. The towering chest and slender waist formed a sharp contrast. In addition to the vest, there is a blue casual short hexagram, and the lower body is a pair of denim shorts, which can reach the thigh. The base, a pair of white and slender legs seem to have been carefully carved out, which is unbearable. Live thinking about going up and pinch. What a lively and beautiful girl. Naruto sighed in his heart. Do you want to go out dressed like this? Naruto thought about it and asked. Yes, I was planning to go shopping at night. It's so nice of you to come, go shopping with me. Lucy exclaimed happily. Naruto. Come on, let's go now, let's go have a meal first hehe. Lucy grabbed Naruto's arm, pulled him off the sofa, took his bag and opened the door before walking out. Well, it seems that I came here by mistake today, I should have gone home if I had known. Naruto said speechlessly. Humph, how can you say that? It's a great honor to go shopping with a beautiful lady. Lucy snorted softly. I don't think so. Naruto glanced at her. Go shopping with a girl, it might be easier to practice against Urza. What a fun guy. Don't you think the night scene looks beautiful at night? And, most importantly, there are beauties to accompany you shopping. Lucy exclaimed in dissatisfaction. Naruto was speechless. He opened his mouth and didn't want to argue with her anymore. It would be a waste of words to argue with her at this time. Who made himself suddenly come to Lucis' door. Next, the two went to have a meal, and then Naruto went shopping with her to buy things, clothes and jewelry, etc. After shopping for a long time, Lucy didn't have much money on her, and she didn't want to use Naruto's money, so I didn't buy much, but I just kept walking around. Naruto felt really boring. This torture continued until 10 o'clock in the evening, and Lucy was ready to go home. The two were walking on a deserted street, the full moon hung high, and Lucy's face was full of joy. It is really a pleasant thing to be able to go shopping with Naruto for so long. Turning his head to look at him, his blonde hair swayed slightly in the night wind, as if radiating light, and there was a faint smile on his resolute and handsome face. Inexplicably, Lucy's jade face twitched slightly, her heart beating a little faster. Does this count as a date? He was so close to him that his arms could collide at any time. Why, it's a pity, why doesn't this guy hold his hand? It's so ignorant of style. After all, she is also a great beauty. In this situation, shouldn't the two hold hands until they walk to the door? Lucy thought in her heart, as if she was dreaming. At this moment, Naruto suddenly grabbed her arm, Lucy's body shook, and then her body slammed into a warm embrace. This is Naruto's embrace. Lucy was slightly shocked. My God, Naruto actually hugged himself. And he still hugged himself so tightly. What is he going to do? At night, doesn't he think? The more Lucy thought about it, the more she couldn't help it. Her heart was beating wildly, as if it was about to pop out of her throat. At this moment, her mind went blank. 705. Surprise attack. The next moment, Lucy suddenly felt a murderous aura coming from the top of her head. In a flash. Be careful, Naruto's voice came from beside his ears. Only then did Lucy realize that now is not romance, but crisis. There was a loud bang. Lucy looked up and saw that there was a big hole where the two of them stood just now. The dust was flying, and it was impossible to see the direction of the enemy at night. Naruto looked at the building above his head and frowned slightly. Naruto, who attacked us? Lucy asked, staying in his arms with lingering fears. Unexpectedly, at such a romantic moment, someone came out to destroy the atmosphere. Damn it, I don't know which bastard did it. However, Lucy was still a little overjoyed, because Naruto hugged herself because of the enemy's attack. Staying in his arms, there is a warm feeling, full of security. Naruto was very puzzled at this time. Just now, he obviously noticed a murderous aura flashed over his head, and then he launched an attack to attack himself and Lucy. However, the enemy left after only one blow. The speed is comparable to Hayate. He wanted to chase out, but he was worried that this was a tactic to get rid of the tiger. After thinking about it for a while, Naruto was relieved. What kind of enemy is he? Guys who dare not stand up to the front, let's keep the same. But, who is the enemy targeting? Is it yourself or Lucy? He frowned and said to Lucy, Lucy, someone attacked us just now, we can't stay here for long, I'll take you back. Lucy was also a little scared at this time. The other party came and went without a trace, and he was absolutely super strong. If that guy wanted to deal with him, he really couldn't resist. She couldn't help but grab the clothes on Naruto's chest and said pitifully, Naruto, you have to protect me. Well, the enemy's strength is not low, and it seems to have some purpose. I will stay at your house tonight. Naruto nodded. You want to live in my house? Lucy couldn't help but whisper. Yeah, is there any problem? Naruto wondered. No, there's nothing wrong. Lucy lowered her head quickly, Yuhi's dizziness forming on her face. Does this count as cohabitation? I only have one room. Well, nothing really happens at night, right? For a while, her mind was confused again. Okay, let's go back quickly. Naruto let go of her, raised his guard, and returned to her home. After entering the house, Lucy took a long breath. As if she felt safe when she got home, she sat down on the sofa as if she was not too tired. Naruto closed the door, sat opposite Lucy, looked at her frightened look, and said with a smile, Don't worry, Lucy, with me here, I will definitely protect you. When Lucy heard this, a reassuring smile appeared on her face. Next, the two sat and discussed about the previous enemy attack. In fact, Naruto had already seen the other side's silhouette flashing past. He seemed to be a tall man with a strong magical aura. If there was no Lucy by his side. If he was there, he really wanted to catch up to see what happened. Naruto, who do you think that guy is targeting? Lucy asked. I don't know. Naruto shook his head. Since the other party attacked us, it must be a conspiracy. Maybe they are interested in your beauty. Aren't you very confident in your beauty? Naruto-tune's guy. Lucy was taken aback for a moment. It won't be true, will it? Naruto was speechless. How confident should this girl be in her beauty? Hee, just kidding. Seeing Naruto's shocked expression, Lucy couldn't help laughing. Naruto exhaled. Okay, I'm going to take a shower. It's time to go to bed. Since you're here, I have nothing to worry about. Lucy stood up and said, and walked towards the bathroom. Naruto sat on the sofa and continued to think about the mysterious attacker. After a while, the sound of rushing water came from the bathroom, interrupting Naruto's thoughts, and it was accompanied by Lucy's softly humming song. It was crisp and pleasant to the ear, but Naruto had a burning feeling when he heard it, and a bloody picture kept coming up in his mind. Hey, since I finished with Ulu that time, I haven't touched a woman yet. The body has developed to maturity, and the demand in this area can no longer be suppressed. Naruto sighed. Recently, he has been constantly tempted by Erza, Mirage and Lucy. He really can't hold it back. It's just that these girls seem to be at ease and enjoy this ambiguous feeling, and they really can't make random actions. After a while, the singing and water in the bathroom finally stopped, the door opened, and Lucy came out with a white towel around her, wiping the wet blonde hair in her hands. Just after taking a bath, my skin is soft and supple, and there is still some mist on my body, which is really beautiful. And under this bathrobe, it must be a vacuum, right? Naruto stared at Lucy's lofty chest and buttocks, almost spitting out a nosebleed, and quickly stopped staring. After Lucy finished washing, she came to Naruto with her bath towel around, and said, I'm done, and I'm going to bed. You can do whatever you want, as long as you don't enter my room. Do you mean to let me sleep in the living room? Naruto couldn't help but be speechless. Well, you don't want to sleep in my bed, do you? Lucy was startled when she heard this, turned her head and stared at him vigilantly. Ah, there's no need for this, go to sleep. Naruto shook his head. He didn't have the shame to squeeze a bed with a girl, and Lucy wasn't his own woman, so he wouldn't do this kind of forcing girls. So, he decided to go to the roof tonight. Look at the stars and sleep on it. Next, Lucy went back to the room, and Naruto went up to the roof. Lying down on the roof and looking at the full moon in the sky, he couldn't help but think of the girls in the 2 worlds ahead. 8 years have passed since the time traveled here. I don't know what the 2 worlds have become in these 8 years. Those lovely girls, those girls who used to make love together, are they thinking about themselves now? I really miss the days with them. Looking back on everything I have experienced, Naruto always feels that this is like a dream. When will we all be able to get together? Strength. Your own strength is really not enough. In this endless space plane, what kind of position is he in? In the midst of all things, is there really such a thing as destiny? Naruto couldn't help falling into contemplation, his eyes became sad. At this moment, a familiar breath suddenly came again. Naruto was startled suddenly, and when he came back to his senses, he heard Lucy scream. Naruto's figure flashed, and the next moment he appeared in front of Lucy's window, and in the distance, a figure was running away quickly. Naruto squinted his eyes, waved his arm, and a bright white magic ball shot out towards the figure of the man. 706. Gone. With a bang, the magic light ball seemed to touch the opponent's body, but it didn't seem to touch it. The figure suddenly accelerated forward, and the figure could no longer be seen clearly. Escape really fast, Naruto muttered. He stopped chasing him, and jumped into the room directly from the window. At this time, the lights were bright, and as soon as Naruto entered, Lucy turned on the lights. What? An exclamation sounded again. This time, it was not panic, but a shy voice. It turned out that Lucy didn't put on underwear when she slept, but slept naked on the bed. Just now, she observed a black shadow flashing in the window, and she screamed for help when she was afraid. After Naruto appeared, she turned on the light. Unexpectedly, the clothes she put on the bed were not properly dressed, and Naruto jumped in directly. At this time, she was half lying on the bed, and the white sheet slipped from her body, revealing most of her delicate body. The firm breasts were not concealed at all, just like that in the light, and the white skin seemed to have a Kobo-like light, which made people unable to take their eyes off. And Naruto watched above the two pink buds, a little dazed. Lucy not only has a good figure, but her body parts are also so perfect, as pink as a newborn baby. Quick, get me out. After being stunned for a second, Lucy hurriedly shouted and pulled over the sheets to cover her naked body, and yelled at Naruto with a face full of shame. Naruto smiled and did not leave the room, but sat on the edge of the bed nearby. Hey, what are you doing? Did you hear when you went out? Lucy panicked. When Naruto heard her voice as if she was about to be molested, he couldn't help but curl his lips and said, "Don't worry, I won't do anything to you." Did the shadow just do anything to you? Only then did Lucy calm down a little, and she said slightly embarrassedly, "I don't know, I woke up as soon as he appeared by my window. I wasn't asleep at that time, and he probably didn't have time to do anything." Quote. That's right, but, I know now, that guy's target is you. Naruto frowned and pondered, have you offended some powerhouse recently? How can I? I'm just a newcomer. How could I offend this kind of guy? Lucy became frightened. If this mysterious enemy really stared at her, she would be out of luck. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but turn around and stretch out her jade arm to grab Naruto's arm tightly. Naruto, you can't ignore me. If I am assassinated, you have to be responsible. Quote. What does this have to do with me? Naruto sweated. Anyway, you can't ignore me. Lucy stopped talking for a while, and then acted as a rogue, or I'll go around saying that you molested me at night. Quote. Naruto couldn't help but said speechlessly, then should I really insult you? Ah, Lucy was startled, and quickly retracted the bed, not daring to move. Okay, I won't tell you more, I'll set up a barrier here for you. By tomorrow morning, no one will be able to come in. Naruto said. Don't, cried Lucy suddenly. What's wrong? If you did that, wouldn't I be locked inside? What if I want to pee at that time? Lucy he said with a sullen face. Naruto looked at her strangely. You can enter and exit this barrier freely. Oh, then don't worry. Lucy let out a long breath. Naruto stood up. Okay, rest, I'm leaving. He squeezed a seal in his hand, a light flashed in the room, and Lucy's bed seemed to be surrounded by a square light curtain. In a flash, Naruto went up to the roof again. Lucy just lay down. However, she found that she had no intention of sleeping anymore. Just now, he accidentally saw him naked. His eyes were obviously hot, it was so embarrassing. Why do you suddenly want to sleep naked? In the same way, Naruto was really sleepless. After seeing Lucy's perfect body just now, he couldn't help but feel a little itchy in his heart. It's been a long time since he had sex. It's really getting more and more unbearable. Until dawn, the attacker did not return. After Naruto got off the roof, he jumped in through Lucy's window, and by the way, the barrier was lifted. Lucy slept very sweetly, with her pure jade face resting on her arms, which was quiet and different from her previous lively state. At this time, Lucy also seemed to have a quiet beauty. Naruto watched for a while, and suddenly Yuhi's face turned up on Lucy's face. He couldn't help laughing and said, "It looks like you are awake." Lucy didn't move. Naruto shook his head. "Since you wake up, get up, or I'll lift the quilt." Lucy still didn't respond, but the expression on her face became more moist, and her hands subconsciously grabbed the sheet. It wasn't until Naruto took a step forward and just reached out to lift it. Lucy exclaimed, pulled the quilt and sat up. Yuhi glared at him. You pervert. Since you want me to get up, first get out. Naruto was stunned when he heard the words. He smiled and then exited the door. Lucy picked up the underwear on the side of the bed, listened carefully for a while, and then quietly lifted the quilt and put it on. Naruto waited in the living room for more than 10 minutes before Lucy opened the door and came out. After the two washed up again, they went to the street to buy some breakfast and went to the guild together. Along the way, they found that someone was talking about something around them, and they looked at themselves and Lucy with strange eyes. They were puzzled until they got to the gate of the guild, and they didn't know that the huge guild was destroyed and riddled with holes. One after another huge iron Jinchuriki column ran through the whole guild, and the whole guild became like a hedgehog, almost like a hedgehog. Collapsed edge. In front of the guild, everyone was furious, and there was a lot of discussion. Naruto and Lucy were slightly surprised when they arrived at the guild. What happened to the guild? How many casualties? He asked loudly. 707. Protection. At this time, Urza came over with a heavy and angry face, and shook her head. There are no casualties among the guild members. The attacker did it last night when everyone was not in the guild. No matter who it is, this despicable I will never spare them easily. Quote. When Naruto heard the words, Wei Wei was relieved. Since there were no casualties, it would be fine. As long as these guys can be found, they can slowly clean up one by one. However, someone would dare to destroy Fairy Tail's guild building so blatantly. This is an extremely arrogant provocation. It is equivalent to ruthlessly stepping on the faces of everyone in the guild. It is because of this that everyone is very angry and angry. At this time, the guild leader was in the basement of the guild. Everyone went to the basement together and found that he was drinking as if nothing had happened, and he was very happy. Is this old man stimulated? Naruto shook his head helplessly. It was just that the guild building was destroyed. How big of a deal was this? He stepped forward, snatched the wine bottle from Makarov's hand, and said lightly, President, what we should do now is to find the enemy and beat them hard. You sit here drinking. What do you mean? Cowardice. Naruto's words immediately aroused the enthusiasm of the people on the side, and they all responded. However, there is really no one other than Naruto who dares to talk to the president like this. Natsu and Gray were quite excited and very much supported Naruto's statement. Makarov stopped drinking, his eyes flashed, and suddenly said, This is the work of the Ghost Master. What? The ruler of the ghosts? Isn't this the guild second only to Fairy Tail in this country? And I heard that it was the #1 guild in their guild a few years ago. That's no wonder. Those Iron Jinchuriki column sons must be the Iron Dragons of their guild. It's so damned. Is it the Master of Ghosts? It seems that the guy who attacked Lucy last night must have something to do with them. Okay, it's useless for everyone to be angry now. The rules of the Magic Council prohibit fighting between guilds, otherwise they will be severely punished. We can't act rashly, the president suddenly shouted. But people are bullying us. We can't swallow anything in this tone. Natsu exclaimed angrily. Yeah, President, this time I also think things are intolerable. This is a provocation by eating guago. If our Fairy Tail doesn't fight back, it will definitely be looked down upon by other guilds. Sarah agreed. Standing next to Naruto, Lucy felt everyone's indignation, and couldn't help but worry. Is this about to start a showdown between guilds? This kind of thing is scary just thinking about it. However, Naruto has always had an indifferent expression. The struggle between guilds is normal, but this time someone actually bullied Fairy Tail. As a member of the guild, how can Naruto tolerate such a thing? However, now is not the time to rush over recklessly, because he always feels that there is something strange about this matter, and the guy who attacked Lucy twice last night made him very concerned. Thinking of the guild being attacked in the morning, it doesn't seem to be that simple. If those guys were really going to attack the people of the guild, why was Lucy alone being taken care of by the enemy, while the others were left intact? Could it be that their real purpose is Lucy and not the guild? Naruto fell into thought for a while. After telling everyone about Lucy's attack, everyone became nervous. Urza and the others were thinking about countermeasures. The atmosphere in the basement became very dignified, with anger and suffocation on everyone's faces. Until the evening, no one of them was in the mood to do the task, and they all stayed in the guild thinking about countermeasures. Well, just in case, it's best for everyone to live together in a team tonight. I don't want to see any casualties tomorrow. Makarov said heavily. Yes, after tonight, I'll settle accounts with them tomorrow. Someone shouted loudly. Naruto's house at night. Lucy and Mirage are here. Originally, Urza was also coming, but her strength was already very strong, so she didn't have to seek protection. She should protect others, so she stayed in the dormitory and protected the girls who lived in the dormitory. However, Lucy, who lived outside, had to be protected by Naruto. Even if Lucy didn't care about what happened last night, Naruto would still firmly protect her. As for Miraja, he went from the dormitory to Naruto's house because he didn't want to increase Urza's burden. In this way, there are 2 girls in Naruto's house, but fortunately the 2 girls don't occupy much space, so let them sleep in their own room and sleep in the living room by themselves. However, at this moment, Naruto's door was suddenly knocked again. Mirage went to open the door and found out that it was Biska who had asked Naruto to take a bath at home. She said a little embarrassedly, "Excuse me." Seeing her coming, Naruto is of course very welcome. After all, people have helped him very enthusiastically before, so after she came, Naruto immediately invited her into the house and asked Mirage to pour her out cup of drink. Naruto, I live outside alone, and I can't find anyone with me for a while, so I'm here with you, won't you mind? Biska said. Naruto smiled. It's alright, I'm here, no one will dare to come here, and even if they come, it won't hurt you a single hair. Thank you so much, Biska thanked. Oh, by the way, besides you, are there any other people living alone in the guild? If so, they can come to me, Naruto said again. Everyone else is in the dormitory, and Urza is in charge, so they should all be fine. Mirage thought for a while, then nodded. 708. Iron Dragon's Sneak Attack. Now Naruto's house has gathered 3 girls, Mirage, Lucy, and Biska. At least these 3 people have their own protection by their side, so there is nothing to worry about. However, on Urza's side, there were too many people in the dormitory, and Naruto was really worried that she would make omissions. After all, Urza's strength is also limited. Although she is already strong compared to others, at least the guy who appeared last night is not inferior to Ursha. You guys can find a place to sleep here tonight, I'll go out and have a look. After thinking for a while, Naruto still decided not to passively defend like this. Since those guys are likely to attack again, then he will take the initiative to find them. Trace. Naruto, what should we do when you go out? Lucy hurriedly grabbed him. Naruto smiled slightly. I set up a barrier around this room. As long as you don't leave the room, no one can come in here. Oh, that's good. Naruto, you have to be careful too. Mirage smiled at him. Yeah. Nodding, Naruto put on the imperial robe and walked out of the door. When they came to the street, most people had already gone back to rest. At this time, the street was deserted and deserted. Naruto walked along the street and came to the guild after a while. At this time, there were faint lights coming from the basement of the guild. Naruto couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. At this time, there are still people here. Just when he was about to go in to see what happened, the lights in the basement suddenly turned off again, and then, 3 figures came out. Rebi-chan, are we going back too late? There is no one on the street now. Tsurusuke, who used divine foot magic, said worriedly. Yeah, the guild was attacked before, I feel that we are so dangerous. Troy, who used plant magic, nodded. These 2 are members of the Shadow Gear Squad. They are loyal fans who follow Lebi. They are average in strength, but they are in every possible way to please Lebi. And with short blue hair, Petite Lebi, with a baby face, the same age as Lucy, looks like a little loli. At this time, she just happened to find some information in the guild, and it was not until now that she thought of going back. Troy and Sarusik were always by her side. Hearing what the two of them said, Rebby couldn't help shaking her head and said, "We are also wizards of fairy tale. Are we so worried because the ghost's ruler sneaked into the guild?" "That's true, but the enemy is in the dark, we are in the light, it would be bad if we were attacked," Troy said. Well, let's go back as soon as possible, you two don't have to send me off, go back quickly." Lebby thought about it and felt a little unsafe. She blamed herself for reading too late. "No, of course we have to send you to the dormitory first." The two of them were very firm and vowed. Seeing the two of them being so determined, Rebby had no choice but to send them off. Naruto hid to the side, seeing them leaving the guild and returning home. After thinking about it, he felt a little uneasy, so he secretly hid to the side, almost merged with the darkness, and followed them silently. Quietly, the three of Rebby couldn't even notice. However, before they could take a few steps, a gust of wind suddenly hit the street, and the three of them were a little surprised when they swayed. It was calm just now, but now it's suddenly windy. Moreover, there was a strong murderous aura in this wind. Naruto frowned slightly, but when he looked up, he saw a tall figure standing on top of the building. The man's eyes seemed to be staring coldly at Lebby and the three in the middle of the road. "Is it the Master of Ghosts?" Naruto was slightly startled, and then a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. It seemed that he was really with the right person. "I didn't expect to catch a big fish." The three of Lebby looked around and walked up while chatting, but they didn't notice the figure at the top of the building at all. At this moment, the corner of the mouth of the figure on the top of the building grinned slightly, and suddenly jumped down from Lebby's back, stretched out his arm, and immediately a huge iron rod extended from his hand, carrying a fierce gust of wind. Seems to be about to smash the three of Lebby into patties. This momentum was enough to pose a threat to the three of Lebby, and even a fatal attack. At this time, the three of Lebby also noticed the strangeness behind them. When they turned around quickly, they found that they had no time to escape. The three of them looked at the huge iron stick and stabbed, and they all felt that it was about to end. They didn't even see each other's faces. Of course, Naruto, who was hiding on the side, would never let such a thing happen. At the moment when the huge iron rod just came to the three of them, Naruto suddenly appeared and just stopped the three of them. "In front of you, punch out." Boom. A sound like a clash of gold and iron sounded, followed by a blast of air after the impact, and Naruto didn't move. The other party exclaimed, and his body flew backwards and flew out. Boom. With a loud bang, the other party slammed into a building fiercely, and the screams of ordinary people sounded inside. The three of Lebby stayed for a while. "This is Naruto." Unexpectedly, he was by his side at the critical moment. "This is really good." Lebby came back to her senses and was so excited that she quickly shouted in thanks, "Naruto. Thank you for saving us." The other two also thanked them on the spot. Naruto turned his head and smiled slightly. "You're welcome, in a sense, you have also successfully drawn out the enemy." After Naruto finished speaking, he rushed into the building in a flash, and pulled out a figure from inside. He was a big man of steel with long black hair. His muscles were as hard as steel, and he looked sturdy and full of aura. "He is the Iron Dragon Gajiru." Naruto didn't know him, so he grabbed his neck and asked coldly, "Are you the sorcerer of the Ghost's ruler? Why did you attack Rebby and the others?" Hey, really powerful. Is this the legendary person who completed the mission for 100 years? Gajiru suddenly laughed. 709. Rebby. The next moment, a powerful breath suddenly came from behind Naruto. "Naruto, be careful," Rebby suddenly screamed. Naruto was also slightly startled, but immediately a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He didn't even look at it, he just threw Gajiru in his hand towards his back. Boom. In an instant, Gajiru's body slammed into another figure's body. The two of them fell out towards the rear together. Naruto turned around slowly and sneered, "Is that the guy who wanted to attack Lucy that day?" He looked at the big man who fell with Gajiru. He was burly but blindfolded, and his aura was very strong. "Hey, actually, I was found. Is this as strong? I am so sad," the big man suddenly cried. Naruto was stunned for a moment, then curled his lips and said, "What a strange guy." The magic power on his body soared, and he walked towards Gajiru and the crying big man step by step. "Hey, it seems that tonight's action failed. We've run into someone who is difficult. Let's go." Gajiro pulled the big man beside him, and suddenly opened his mouth and spewed out a strong whirlwind of energy towards Naruto. Roar of the Iron Dragon. Naruto waved one hand, and an ice shield instantly formed and stopped in front of him. The roar of the Iron Dragon bombarded the ice shield, but it had no effect. Block it all. However, when the energy whirlwind passed, the Iron Dragon and the big man also disappeared in front of him. "Get away." Lebi came over and sighed. Naruto looked at her and nodded slightly. "These guys are frequently attacking Fairy Tail. It seems that we really can't wait to be beaten. No matter what, the Master of Ghosts, we will seek justice tomorrow." Ribi nodded, looked up at Naruto, and thanked again. "Today is really thanks to you. Otherwise, my end will definitely be miserable." Welcome." Naruto smiled slightly. "Just be careful in the future, a girl is very dangerous at night." "Yeah." Rebi nodded vigorously, her face full of admiration. "It's so cool. Is this the strongest sorcerer in the guild?" Such a sweet smile. "It feels so good." Rebi was very excited. "Okay, I'll take you back first," Naruto said. "Well, then I'll trouble you." Lebi nodded slightly and replied in a low voice. First sent Troy to the door of the dormitory, and after saying goodbye to them, he took Lebi to the girls' dormitory. Because of the attack, Ribi still has some lingering fears. She followed Naruto's footsteps along the way, with her head down and Yuhi's heart beating down, as if she was very excited. This was the first time she and Naruto had walked so close together, and there were only two of them at night. As a guild who once defeated Laxus, tied with Gildas, and was even the strongest who completed a 100-year mission, Naruto's reputation has reached a godlike status in the minds of the girls. Of course, Ribi was the same. Compared with Urza and the others, she was just an insignificant mage who could only look up at Naruto's back, but now, she was actually walking with Naruto. It's like a dream. But she also knew that there was only one chance of this kind. For a strong man like Naruto, she was just a very ordinary girl. With her head down, Lebi wanted to say something but didn't dare. Finally, in this strange atmosphere, the two returned to the door of the women's dormitory. But they found that the dormitory door had already been closed. Lebi couldn't help but be stunned for a moment, and then she remembered that the door of the dormitory was about to close at 11 o'clock in the evening, but it should be almost 12 o'clock now. It's all midnight. She looked at Naruto helplessly. Naruto said, "It seems that you can't get in tonight. If so, come and stay with me for one night." Really? As soon as Lebi heard this, Fang's heart couldn't help jumping wildly, and a surprise appeared on her face. "Well, Lucy and the others are with me anyway," Naruto said again. "Lucy, Rebi was startled. It turned out that she was not the only one. She thought she was the only one. She was slightly disappointed, but she actually had this opportunity to visit Naruto's house. Really good. So, Naruto took Lebi back home. However, Mirage, Lucy and Bisca fell asleep on their stomachs in the living room. After entering, Lebi couldn't help but be a little surprised. "Even Mila is here. Xiaolu is here too. And Bisca," Rebi whispered. "Why did they all come to your house?" Naruto smiled slightly and replied, "Because if I'm at my house, I can protect them. No one will want to hurt them when I'm here." "Oh, that's great. I really envy them. You are protected by a powerful wizard like Naruto." Ribi laughed. Seeing her cute smile, Naruto couldn't help but reach out and touch her head. "Aren't you the same now?" I'll protect you too. Suddenly being touched by Naruto so intimately, Levy's body trembled and immediately stopped in place, her small face swelled to Yuhi. Naruto, Naruto, I'm not a child anymore. Don't touch my head. Levy clasped her fists on her chest and argued. I'm sorry, I almost forgot your age. Naruto realized that Levy was 17 years old. Although she was petite, she looked like a little loli, but her body had matured. The convex is convex, the concave is concave, it is really disrespectful to her to do so. Well, really, they really aren't children. Levy muttered a little aggrieved. Seeing that she was about to cry, Naruto hurriedly pushed her into the room. Okay, I apologize for what I did just now, let's rest now. Tomorrow morning, I will go to the ghost's ruler to settle accounts. What? 710. Rush into the guild. After letting her go to sleep in his room, Naruto returned to the hall, looking at Lucy, Mirage, and Bisca, each lying on the sofa sleeping sweetly, with a knowing smile on the corner of his mouth. Afterwards, after he went to the bathroom to take a shower, he also came to lie down on the sofa beside him and fell asleep. Early the next morning, Naruto was woken up by a burst of laughter. When he opened his eyes, it turned out that the three of Lucy had woken up, only to find that the three of them were looking around him curiously. Naruto opened his eyes in surprise. At this moment, he suddenly noticed that the girls had a slight dizziness on their faces, and they were staring at his bottom, between his legs. Naruto lowered his head, only to realize that a tent had been erected under him at some point. This is called morning bow. The girls stared at themselves curiously, and Naruto couldn't help but look Yuhi, and quickly sat up. Cough cough. He hurriedly coughed and pretended to wake up suddenly, and the frightened girls hurriedly turned around and pretended not to see anything. Naruto, you're awake. Mirage sat beside him and said with a smile. There seemed to be a hint of Yuhi dizziness on his face, and his eyes couldn't help glancing under Naruto. Well, I just woke up. Why did you wake up so early? Have you had breakfast? Naruto asked, changing the subject. Not yet, let's wash up and have breakfast together. Lucy turned around and said. Bisca also nodded with a slightly Yuhi expression on her face. Naruto got up to wash up. At the same time, Ribi walked out of Naruto's room, and the three of Lucy couldn't help but be slightly surprised. Rebi, why are you here? Rebi rubbed her big, dazed eyes. I was in danger last night. After Naruto rescued me, he brought me here to sleep. Oh, so that's how it is. Damn, is it the ghost's ruler who attacked you? Lucy walked over and shouted angrily. Well, those guys are really bad. Ribi was a little scared thinking about what happened last night, and she felt even more grateful for Naruto's appearance. After washing up, the group of 5 came to the guild after having breakfast. At this time, the guild has gathered a lot of people one after another. Urza also came to the guild early, checking the number of everyone, and asking if anyone was in danger last night. After the 5 Naruto arrived, Urza frowned slightly and couldn't help being a little angry. Because she saw that he was accompanied by 4 girls. Besides Mirage and Lucy, there were actually Bisca and Reeb. Could it be that they were all with Naruto last night? Thinking of this, she couldn't help but become mad. If it wasn't for the fact that she had to protect the other people in the dormitory last night, she could not help but go to Naruto to supervise him. Naruto, did you find anything here? Urza walked over and looked at Mirage and the others carefully, and found that they didn't show any signs of losing their lives, so she asked with a sigh of relief. After hearing this, Naruto nodded slightly, and told everyone about the attack on Levi that night. At this time, Troy and the 2 also stood up to testify. Everyone couldn't help but get angry after hearing it. He actually took action on the petite and cute Ribi-chan. This is simply intolerable. At this moment, the male members of the guild were angry. The girls also looked indignant, and shouted loudly that they were going to subjugate the ghost's ruler. At this time, Makarov, who heard this, thought for a while with a gloomy face, and finally stood up with a big wave of his hand and said angrily, "Go. Let's go to the Ghosts Guild." Oh. When everyone in the guild heard this, even the president couldn't help it. They couldn't help being excited and couldn't help cheering. Fighting high. Led by Urza, Natsu, Gray, Lucy, Mirage, Elfman, Biska, Ribi, Kana and others, the fairy tales formed a magic army, and moved towards the ghosts. The guild where the ruler is located, marched forward in a mighty manner. This is the precursor to the guild war. Also fairy tale angry outburst. Anyone who dares to bully fairy tale will suffer the wrath of everyone. Even if it is the magic council to punish, everyone will not hesitate. Naruto stood beside Urza and looked at the mighty crowd. He shook his head slightly. As a member of Fairy Tail, of course he had to be on his side, and this time it was the other party who came first. He provoked himself, so he would not forgive those people lightly. Especially the president of the ghost ruler. He will never forgive anyone who makes such a decision. He attacked Lucy twice, and attacked Lebby at night. He hated this despicable guy very much. That big guy who was crying for no reason, and that iron dragon, if necessary, even killing them would not be an exaggeration. After a while, the group rushed to the Ghost Masters Guild. At this time, everyone in their guild was celebrating something collectively. The arrival of Naruto and others instantly broke their atmosphere. With a loud bang, the fairy tale crowd broke through the Ghost's Gate and entered the hall directly. Urza was the first to bear the brunt, and Nazgûl, as the vanguard, went straight up and punched their people. There was a burst of crackling, and the two guild members immediately fought. However, the core figures of both sides have not yet shot. Makarov, it seems that you are finally going to make a move. Joseph, the leader of the ghost, said with a gloomy smile. The old man is not someone to be bullied by others. We, Fairy Tail, are not a guild to be bullied by others. Makarov said coldly. The momentum between the two suddenly increased, and everyone around felt a sense of physical and mental tremors. The confrontation between these two momentums made some people who were not strong enough around them even a little bit unbearable, and they stopped in place and couldn't move. Even Nazgûl and Urza were affected. In the guild, only Naruto stood there motionless, quietly filtering out these two auras. 711. One person versus guild. Let's find another place to fight. Makarov suggested that everyone was shocked by the momentum of the two of them. No problem, Joseph grinned, seemingly happy to do so. The next moment, the two figures flashed, and they rushed directly towards the guild. Then everyone let out a sigh of relief and started fighting again. At this time, Naruto and Urza stood on the spot and hadn't made a move, and the other party, including Tai Long, didn't make a move. In the guild battle, everyone seems to want to take a look at the strength of the people under them. But Naruto couldn't wait any longer. Although he didn't stay in the guild for a long time and spent most of the time outside, the atmosphere in the guild was very good. Even if it was a little noisy, everyone was very happy together. Here, Naruto can feel the human touch of this different world. In a guild with such lovely people, how could Naruto let these inexplicable guys destroy it? Not to mention a guild, even if the opponent is the Magic Council, or the entire country, so what? At this moment, Naruto suddenly exuded an extremely strong momentum. Urza, Natsu, Gray. You all, step back, Naruto said suddenly. What, Naruto, you told us to step back. Urza thought there was something wrong with her ears. This was a group war between guilds. Does he want to come alone? This approach is really messed up. No matter how strong he is, he can't be alone like this. That's right, I just made a decision just now, everyone can stop fighting like this. Naruto suddenly said, if I remember correctly, the war between guilds will be banned by the Magic Council. But what if it was an individual challenge to the guild? What would happen? As soon as Naruto's voice fell, everyone who heard it couldn't help being shocked. Naruto, what do you mean? Do you want to deal with the guild alone? Urza was taken aback and looked at him in disbelief. Natsu and Gray were also surprised. A mature and rational Naruto would actually make such a move. On the contrary, the enemy guild members who heard what Naruto said, all turned their angry eyes towards him. What a big breath! Iron Dragon Gajiru laughed loudly, jumped down from the upper floor, and came to Naruto. Naruto smiled lightly. At this moment, Makarov's scream came from upstairs overhead. Naruto's expression froze slightly, and he couldn't help but be startled. It's the president's voice. Urza was also terrified. The next moment, she, Natsu and Gray rushed up. When the three came down, they saw Makarov lying in Natsu's arms with a sullen face. My magic is gone. Makarov groaned in pain. President, what's wrong with you, President? What the hell is going on? Urza was very anxious, but the next moment, Makarov went straight in. President, did you lose? Including Naruto, all members of Fairy Tail were shocked. However, after being slightly surprised for a while, Naruto immediately regained his composure. He looked up to the upper floor and saw that Joseph happened to fall with the big man who attacked Lucy at night. Along with the two there were also 3 elite personnel. Naruto clearly felt 3 distinct but very pure magic powers from them. Water, fire, earth. With that big man's wind magic power, he is a wizard of the 4 elements. Moreover, the purity of their magic power is astonishing, as if the whole body has become the element itself. Coupled with the Iron Dragon Gajiru, and Joseph, the president of one of the top 10 magic wizards, Fairy Tail is definitely at a disadvantage. In addition to Naruto, the only people in the guild who can do it are Urza, Natsu, and Gray. But none of this matters. Because, as long as Naruto is alone, everyone will never fall into despair. Because he is the strongest S-rank mage in the guild, the hope of everyone. However, Joseph seemed very happy when he defeated Makarov. He laughed loudly. The presidents of your guild have all been defeated by me. What can you do without a leader? Now we have the guild's strongest 4 elements, as well as the ace Gajiru. How about you? Joseph paused and laughed. Only a goblin queen wants to deal with our ace and the 4 elements. That's not at all. It's impossible. We still have Naruto, someone shouted. Joseph was stunned for a moment, and then he laughed even more arrogantly. He looked at Naruto with contempt. Uzumaki Naruto. The legendary guy who completed the mission for 100 years. Ha ha ha, I don't believe it, even the Holy 10 did not enter. I'm afraid you're boasting too much, right? But I also admit that you are a bit powerful, at least a little more powerful than the Fairy Queen, so let me teach you a lesson myself, this brat. President, of course this guy is handed over to me. Gajiru suddenly shouted in dissatisfaction. HMPH, Gajiru, you and the 4 elements deal with Urza and the others, this guy can only be left to me to deal with. Joseph said lightly. Gajiru nodded and stopped talking. Seeing that they had arranged their opponents in just a few words, Naruto suddenly wanted to laugh. He couldn't help but said, is your ghost ruler always so arrogant? Humph. Today we are going to prove that the ruler of our ghosts is the strongest guild in this country. Your Fairy Tail can only be subservient to us. Joseph sneered. Naruto shook his head slightly. Looks like, you guys are crazy about trying to be number 1. But do you dare to accept the challenge I propose? Ha ha, it's a joke. I already look down on you very much as your opponent. You little brats still want to deal with our entire guild. Don't be delusional, Joseph taught. People must be self-aware. Naruto was helpless and sighed slightly. Okay, since that's the case, then I'll deal with you first and then deal with others. After a pause, he turned his head and said to everyone behind him, none of you are allowed to take action. This is a battle between me and the guild. Let me represent Fairy Tail and challenge the ghost's ruler. Everyone looked at him, not knowing how to answer. Naruto wants to deal with the entire guild with one person, but what are they going to do? Is it only to support the scene? That would be too unpromising, right? They all looked at Urza, and had to let Urza make up her mind. Urza took a deep breath, came to Naruto and said solemnly, "Naruto, do you really want to deal with them alone?" "Yes, this is a deterrent. I will announce to the world that the Lord of Ghosts is not qualified to challenge Fairy Tail." Seeing the firm look on Naruto's face, Elsa's face flashed a little struggle, and then nodded heavily, "Okay. Since it's your decision, then I support you." What? Urza even supports Naruto to do this? Everyone couldn't help but be shocked. Urza turned around. "I believe in Naruto. The president is down now, but I believe that as long as Naruto is there, he will never fail." 712. Fight against Joseph. A group of ants. Stop joking there. After Makarov falls, what strength do you have to fight against us? Joseph laughed. "Now I will solve Uzumaki Naruto. Let you taste utter despair." He took a step forward, and an incomparably powerful and evil magical aura spread out from his body, instantly shocking everyone to the spot. It's such an evil magic that makes you want to vomit. Urza and the others couldn't help but have such a thought in their hearts. Under his magical momentum, their strength would be affected to some extent. However, although Naruto can also feel the evil and powerful magic of Joseph, he does seem indifferent and doesn't care at all. Although Joseph's strength is strong, as one of the 10 great magicians of the Holy Spirit, he is almost a magician standing at the top of the world, but compared with the ice dragon and water dragon that Naruto himself encountered before, it is still much worse. "Come on together," Naruto suddenly said coldly. "It's ridiculous. Your opponent is me. Do you still want to deal with us alone? I think you can't protect yourself." Joseph was thoroughly angered by Naruto's arrogance. As the president himself, Saint Ten, the existence of the great magician has been underestimated by him over and over again. How can this be tolerated? Iron Dragon and the 4 elements stood quietly behind them, preparing to attack Urza and the others. In their opinion, it is enough to have President Joseph to deal with Naruto, and others to them are more than enough. Meanwhile, Joseph finally made his move. I saw him wave one hand, and a dark energy shock wave flew towards Naruto with a powerful momentum. Just this small energy momentum made Arusa and others rushed to the tremor. It is worthy of being the top 10 magic guides, and an ordinary blow can also carry such a strong breath. However, what was unexpected was that Naruto did not dodge, but just stood there quietly, and was hit by Joseph's dark shock wave in an unbiased manner. Boom! The energy bombarded Naruto and exploded. "Naruto, what are you doing? Why don't you run away?" Urza couldn't help but shouted anxiously. The energy dissipated, revealing Naruto's figure. I saw him standing on the spot intact, and the clothes on his body were not even damaged. This scene suddenly shocked everyone around him. How is this going? Joseph's eyelids twitched slightly, and he subconsciously felt that something was wrong. Just as his energy hit the guy, he suddenly felt an incomparably powerful aura emanating from Naruto's body, just for a moment. In between, it's like an illusion. "You bastard! Stop pretending to be there. Break it for me." Joseph, who was a little uncertain in his heart, suddenly launched a violent attack on Naruto, only to see him wave his hands again and again. With dark energy, the shock wave blasted towards Naruto's body. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, countless energies flew out of Joseph's hands and landed on Naruto's body. Naruto didn't move. Soon those dark energies enveloped him, and his entire body seemed to be covered in darkness. The energy devours. Urza and the others who watched this scene were greatly worried. "Go to hell. Go to die. Damn guy," Joseph shouted while frantically attacking. Why didn't Naruto fight back? What the hell is going on with him? Seeing Naruto being beaten, Natsu couldn't help but yell. Elsa is also full of puzzles. When it comes to Naruto's strength, she is very clear. In every battle, even though she has tried her best, she can't shake him in the end. Although Joseph is one of the top 10 demons, one of the guides, but it won't be strong enough to suppress Naruto, right? The time lasted for about a minute. Under the constant bombardment of Joseph's evil and powerful energy, the entire guild seemed to be shaking. The ground was already riddled with holes, and the expression on his face became more and more crazy. However, The unease in his heart became stronger and stronger. Finally, under another round of onslaught, Joseph stopped. He stood there, looking at the place where Naruto was with a slight sweat on his forehead. A gust of wind blew, and the energy dissipated, revealing the figure of Naruto in situ. I saw a faint halo around his body, exuding a soft light, which seemed to be his magic. It is peaceful and powerful, and it seems to carry the natural power of the whole world. Most people can't see the power in it at all. Only Joseph, who is directly opposite him, can feel the boundless power. It's like a mountain in front of you, you can't help but look up. It was this feeling, so powerful that even Joseph himself couldn't help but step back. At this moment, he clearly felt it. This, Naruto is fine, someone exclaimed excitedly. Yeah, his clothes are not damaged. I didn't expect to be attacked by the other party's president for so long, but he was not injured at all. How did he resist? As expected of Naruto, Urza also had a smile on her face. Damn, how could you be so strong? Joseph felt the powerful power emanating from Naruto, and his heart was full of fear. He never thought that a young kid could have such a strong power. Naruto sneered disdainfully. With your little strength, can you beat our old man? What a joke. Naruto waved his hand and said coldly, then let you taste my attack. No, don't be arrogant, you bastard. President Joseph couldn't help but panic. Seeing Naruto's movements, he subconsciously took a step back, and an incomparably powerful dark energy suddenly surged out of his hands. I'm going to kill you with this one blow. Joseph shouted, and before Naruto could make a move, the dark energy in his hand had already condensed to a terrifying level. Naruto frowned slightly when he saw this. Did this old guy finally realize that he was going to use a trick? A mysterious smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. 713. Abuse. Death Storm. Joseph roared loudly, and a violent storm of evil energy gathered in his hands, a whirlwind of black and purple energy, condensed into a strong beam of magic, rushing towards the place where Naruto was like a destructive force. The ground along the way was even directly crushed by the air waves generated by this energy. However, in the next instant, Naruto's figure suddenly rushed out like an arrow. In the direction of Joseph, that is, the direction of the energy storm, he rushed directly. He raised his palm and met the fierce energy whirlwind. Is this guy looking for death? The other members of the Ghosts Guild couldn't help but froze when they saw Naruto's actions. This guy dared to deal with the strongest attack of the guild leader with his bare hands. This is simply unbelievable. There was even a triumphant smile on Joseph's face. This ignorant guy dares to despise himself so much. Then disappear under your own magic. However, Naruto is obviously not such a messy person, and he will never do anything he is not sure about. When his palm met Joseph's magic beam, the air couldn't help but shake. Immediately, an unbelievable scene happened. Naruto's palm broke the magic beam directly, and his body rushed in the direction of Joseph with unabated speed. That powerful and unparalleled magic, to him, seemed to be non-existent, and it was torn open with one hand. In the next instant, Naruto rushed in front of Joseph. The palm of the hand grabbed his head, and immediately grabbed his face in the palm of his hand. Joseph's aura was instantly suppressed at this moment. The whole person was grabbed by Naruto and pressed against the guild's wall. Boom! His head immediately came into close contact with the wall. The wall was broken. Joseph's pupils widened, staring at Naruto, his eyes full of incredible eyes. He couldn't believe that his strongest magic was torn apart by him unilaterally with the palm of his hand. How much magic does it take to do this? It's absolutely overwhelming. At this moment, Joseph's face was ashes as he reacted. He finally saw Naruto's strength. His head was grabbed by him, and he found that his entire body could not move. Is this the power of Uzumaki Naruto? This power is much stronger than himself. It turns out that all the rumors about this guy are true. The strength of those who have completed the task of 100 years is actually terrifying. At this moment, Not only was Joseph himself extremely shocked, everyone present couldn't believe it. Iron Dragon and 4 elements can hardly believe all this. Is this really their own guild leader? Unexpectedly, he couldn't cause any damage to Naruto, and he was killed in one blow. And Urza and the others were also extremely shocked. People who couldn't even defeat their own guild leader couldn't even pass a single move under Naruto's hands. This simply subverts everyone's cognition. Is Naruto that strong? Or, he never showed his true strength before? Or has he progressed in the past 6 years to an unparalleled level? In short, all of this made Naruto even more mysterious and powerful in the eyes of everyone. Looking at his back, everyone was shocked and speechless, and could only stare at him blankly. At this time, after Naruto pressed Joseph against the wall, a strong chill suddenly appeared in his palm, pouring directly into his body along Joseph's forehead. At this time, Joseph's body protection magic power could not resist the invasion of this cold air at all, and he was instantly frozen into a popsicle by Naruto. Frozen in place and unable to move. The ruler of ghosts, President Joseph, is defeated. Naruto turned around, clapped his hands, and looked at the others present. Okay, your guild leader has failed. Now it's your turn. Are you going together, or one by one? Naruto said provocatively. Tilong Gajiru and 4 elements couldn't help being shocked, startled, and came back to their senses, with a solemn look on their faces. They have never seen such an enemy at all. What is the strength of a man who can kill him in a single blow? What kind of power does he possess in his body to be able to kill the existence of the top 10 magic guides in seconds? After hearing Naruto's words, they all stared at Naruto's figure as if they were facing the enemy. I think it's better for you to go together. Naruto walked towards them step by step. Damn, does this guy really have such a pervert? Just the momentum of coming over makes people feel unwilling to fight. The fire element Tutumaru said with lingering fears. It seems that we really have to join forces to deal with him. Sol, the element of earth, nodded. Juvia will also go all out. Juvia, the element of water, said lightly. It's so sad, the president has failed. Arya, the element of wind, cried. You should also show your strength, right? Sol said to Alia. This time the opponent is not easy. Don't be careless. Alia nodded, reached out and took off his own blindfold. The next moment, a powerful and unparalleled magic power surged out of him. The 4 of them, headed by the wind element Arya, together with the iron dragon Gajiru, stood in a row, facing Naruto. The powerful momentum formed by the 5 people resisted Naruto together. Naruto stood in front of them, and the magical pressure on his body spread violently, forcing the 5 people back in an instant. The next moment, before the 5 of them could react, they suddenly rushed out and attacked Tilong first. Ice Dragon's Wing Strike. 2 strong cold air suddenly appeared above Naruto's arms, and like a whip, the Iron Dragon was swept away. Immediately afterwards, he moved his arm and slammed a punch at the other people. Ice Dragon's Boxing. The fist strength was mixed with cold air, and the next moment, the few people next to him were also knocked out. 714, approximately equals Chen _. The 5 people were knocked out together in an instant, and when they stood up again, they found that countless huge ice mirrors suddenly appeared in front of them. The ice mirror formed a layer of walls, trapping the 5 people inside. Magic Crystal Ice Crystal. What kind of magic is this? The 5 of them couldn't help but be surprised. Tai Long stretched out his hand and punched the ice mirror in front of him. With a loud bang, Tai Long's arm turned into an iron rod, which slammed the ice mirror fiercely, and the entire ice crystal was instantly shattered by this force. However, in less than a second, the cold air in the air once again formed an ice mirror of fragments and blocked it in front of him. Fix it in an instant. Humph. It's actually ice magic. I'm a fire magician. Tutumaru waved both hands together, and a huge dragon-like flame gushed out, surrounding all the ice crystals in front of him. The fire was raging. However, this extremely hot air wave only stirred up a fog. After a while, the ice crystals were repaired by the cold air. Juvia smiled when she saw the appearance of the ice mirror. To her, water is like her own body, and Naruto's ice is frozen from water, so he did not panic at all, and controlled his magic power to penetrate into the ice crystals in front of him, trying to control and disintegrate these ice cubes. However, Juvia was just about to try this idea, but was surprised to find that his magic power could not affect Naruto's ice mirror at all. Okay, so powerful, I can't control his water. Juvia groaned. He wanted to use his spirit and magic power to control Naruto's ice cubes, but he was accidentally caught by Naruto's chill. Injured the body. She fell to the ground with soft feet, a look of horror on her face. Is this the overwhelming advantage in magic power? Absolute control over your own power, no one else can interfere. At this moment, Naruto's figure suddenly appeared in these countless ice mirrors, looking at them with a cold expression. Whoever dares to offend Fairy Tail, I will punish you now. His voice entered the ears of the 5 people, and it seemed to carry a magical power, and a trace of fear rose in their eyes. Demonic Mirroring Ice Crystals Phase 2. Ice God Fury. Naruto in each ice mirror clasped his hands together, and the next moment, all the ice mirrors suddenly emitted an incomparably cold light. Shoot at everyone surrounded by ice mirrors. Outside the ice mirror, everyone only saw that a strong white light suddenly appeared from the whole area surrounded by the ice mirror. After the white light flashed, the surrounding temperature suddenly dropped by dozens of degrees. The entire guild seems to have entered winter. Everyone was shivering with cold. Next, the ice mirrors disappeared layer by layer, revealing the figures of the 5 people who were surrounded. They were all frozen into ice sculptures, frozen in place. No matter how many tricks they had hidden before, how strange they were all useless under Naruto's overwhelming attack. Iron Dragon plus 4 elements, defeat. Killed again. At this time, the people present were already somewhat immune, and it was not surprising that those who could instantly defeat President Joseph and the 5 strongest wizards of the ghosts were able to defeat the ghosts with 1 opponent and 5. Your elites and guild leaders have already failed, what else do you want to do now? Naruto turned around and looked at the other members of the Ghost Guild. These people are just some weaklings. Facing Naruto, their hearts almost collapsed. This kind of terrifying guy is even more terrifying than a monster. We surrender. I don't know who said this first, and then everyone knelt down towards Naruto, threw away the weapons in their hands, and lowered their heads deeply. Seeing this scene, Urza and the others couldn't help cheering. Sure enough, Naruto was there. All this is not a problem. I didn't expect things to be resolved so easily. Naruto really overturned the Ghost's ruler with just 1 person. This is absolutely a myth that is unique in history. This is an unrealizable miracle for anyone, but for him, it is so simple. That's great. We won. Everyone in Fairy Tail cheered loudly, and all ran to Naruto's side, wanting to pick him up and throw him into the sky. Naruto quickly jumped back and blocked Urza in front of him. Urza was stunned for a moment, and after giving him a blank look, she spoke to the crowd. If you want to celebrate, let's go back first. After all, the guild hasn't been repaired yet. After hearing Urza's words, everyone stopped. However, as for how to deal with the Ghost's ruler, Naruto is too lazy to worry about it now, so he can directly notify the Magic Council and let them come and deal with it. Taking everyone back to the guild, the general manager Makarov took the pharmacist Ms. Belusica for treatment. Naruto and Urza sat down and thought about how to solve the problem of the leader's injury. After understanding, the president was injured by the wind element Alia. His airspace magic can clear all the magic power in the opponent's body. This kind of magic is not only powerful but also cruel. The stronger the magic power, the greater the damage. Love is old, and although his magic power is strong, his body's resistance is getting worse and worse, so it is very troublesome to get treatment after unfortunately being recruited. Naruto immediately returned to the Ghost Masters Guild, and brought the frozen Arya back to Fairy Tail. To untie the bell must be tied. This guy is the culprit. To untie this magic, he can only do it. However, after thawing him, Alia shook his head and said that he didn't even know how to unlock this magic. He was only responsible for destroying the other party's magic power, but not for recovering it. For this answer, Urza was very angry, and she beat him up on the spot, beat him directly, and threw him out of the guild. What should I do now? There's nothing good for Ms. Polikashi. The president's situation is very bad right now. Naruto thought for a while, then suddenly closed his eyes. Naruto, what's wrong? Urza asked suspiciously. The next moment, Naruto suddenly opened his eyes and said with a smile, maybe I have found a way. 715. Defiance. What? You said you have a solution. Urza couldn't help but be overjoyed. Naruto nodded. Just by feeling the magic of nature, he suddenly realized that a magic power belonging to Makarov still hadn't dissipated in this atmosphere. The magic power expelled from the body. Let's go to Ms. Polikashi right now. Naruto stood up. Urza and the others quickly followed. The group came to the forest cabin where Ms. Polikashi was. You nasty human beings. Get out of here. Don't disturb me here. Ms. Polikashi immediately rushed out with a broom. Naruto stepped forward and said solemnly, I have a way to cure the president. After speaking, ignoring her surprise, she walked directly into the cabin, only to see the old man lying there, looking extremely weak. Naruto stepped forward, put his hands on his chest, and closed his eyes slightly. At this time, Madame Polikashi and Urza also entered the room. Naruto, Urza called out to him. Shish, don't make a noise. He's concentrating. Polikashi glared at her. Urza quickly closed her mouth. After a while, everyone suddenly felt a thick magical breath surging in the surrounding air. This is the magic power of the president. Urza and the others were startled and looked at Naruto, only to see a soft light emerging from his hands, covering the old man's chest. The lost magic power is rushing towards Naruto's hands quickly. After a while, Naruto opened his eyes, exhaled slightly, and smiled lightly. Okay, all the magic power of the president has been retrieved, and everything is fine. As his voice fell, Makarov suddenly sat up, looked at Naruto gratefully and said, Thank you so much. Thank you for taking back my magic power for me. Naruto smiled and shook his head, saying you're welcome. Urza and the others were naturally excited when they saw the president wake up safe and sound. Amid the yelling of Ms. Polikashi, everyone returned to the guild. Along the way, the president also learned from everyone's mouth what happened after he fell into a coma, and he couldn't help but be shocked when he learned that Naruto had defeated the entire Ghost's ruler with his own power. It was really too careless at the time. It's such a pity for me to miss such a wonderful battle. Makarov shook his head and sighed. Naruto smiled slightly, not paying too much attention. The ruler of the ghosts, the strength of the guild members is only the Iron Dragon and the 4 elements. The others are nothing, and the strength of President Joseph is far from Makarov. If Makarov does not have if he is attacked by Arya, he can defeat their guild with his strength. This is the importance of the high-end strength of the guild. A day later, the Magic Council came. They took a group of knights and marched across the street to the Fairy Tale Guild. The frog messenger at the head directly ordered Naruto to come out. At this time, Naruto was chatting with Urza and the others in the guild. After hearing the news, he walked out. Uzumaki Naruto, the ghost's ruler has been ordered to dissolve, but there is one thing I hope you can cooperate with us. The frog messenger raised his head and said. Although Naruto's strength is very strong, but he doesn't have any AWE-inspiring look. On the contrary, he looks a little disdainful of Naruto. This may be the official contempt for civilians. Naruto smiled lightly. Please speak. Well, according to alliance law, private fights are prohibited between guilds. Although the situation that day was between you and the ghost, several members of the Magic Council agreed that it was a fight between guilds. But based on the ghosts taking the lead, Fairy Tale is innocent of attacking things. The frog messenger said here, frowned slightly and said, but the ghost's ruler has been ordered to dissolve, you should be able to let them go, right? Our law does not allow arbitrary killing, otherwise it will be subject to the alliance. Arrest. Naruto was stunned for a moment. He then remembered that he seemed to have frozen the Iron Dragon and the four elements at that time. Except for Alia, who was beaten up by Urza after unlocking it later, the others seemed to be frozen by his own. He knows how strong his own ice is, and he can even freeze the flames. Although those guys are strong, they are absolutely unable to break free. But what is this for? Although those guys were frozen for a while and could not be untied, but as time passed, it would not take much time, and it was a great mercy that he did not kill them. Are you saying you want me to unblock those guys? Naruto asked. Yes, although they committed the crime of provoking a fight between the guilds, they have been punished as they should, and the people of the two guilds have not died. This is the best ending so far. Therefore, our magic review, the few members of the meeting do not want blood to appear in this battle. The frog messenger said calmly. Naruto suddenly sneered. Then you can go back. It's impossible for me to unlock the ice now. What a joke, can't you be punished for attacking someone else's guild? Uzumaki Naruto, are you disobeying the council's order? The frog messenger's expression changed slightly, and he shouted sharply. The group of knights behind him also shook their weapons. At this time, Elsa pulled Naruto's arm and whispered, Naruto, you should unblock the ice, it's not worth doing right for this trivial matter and the Magic Council. Naruto thought for a while, couldn't help but smile, patted her shoulder and said, of course I know that, don't worry, I know what to do. Have you considered it? You have to be clear that there is a guild behind you, and you can't implicate everyone because of a little thing, said the frog messenger. Hearing this, Naruto suddenly took a step forward and said with a chuckle, this matter, your Magic Council only needs to punish the ghost's ruler. As for other things, it's better for you not to worry about it. Send the words back and tell the people above you, just say this is what I, Uzumaki Naruto, said. What, you actually disobeyed our orders. The frog messenger couldn't help but be shocked when he heard it, and his whole body took a few steps back, his face full of fear. This isn't disobedience, it's negotiation. For the sake of your just a message, I won't embarrass you, tell the people above you, if there's anything wrong, just come to me, and everyone in the guild. It's all irrelevant, but I said it clearly. As for those guys who have ghosts, no one can interfere with the punishment I made. You'd better remember what you said now. I will convey it to the adults. You will be the one who will regret it. The frog messenger was frightened by Naruto's bold words and trembled. The voice pointed back at him and said. Those knights didn't dare to take action against Naruto at all, because just when Naruto spoke, a powerful magical pressure was already radiated, and they were firmly shocked in place. In this case, only the upper echelons of the Magic Council can make up their minds. 716. Mokuden Wood-style clone. In the Guild of the Ghosts. A group of people were speechless at the 4 ice sculptures. These ice cubes, everyone in the guild has used various methods but still can't resolve them. Burn, cut. But the ice cubes still didn't move. People are amazed at the power of these ice cubes. Of course, Naruto's demonic mirroring ice crystals phase 2, Ice God Fury, how could it be so easy to crack? Injecting a lot of natural magic, unless Naruto solves it by himself, like the little guys in the Ghost Guild, the strength is not enough to break these ice. However, although the Iron Dragon and the 3 of the 4 elements were frozen, they did not die. With their magic power, even if they were frozen for a day or two, it would not be a big deal. However, it will be the pain of being attacked by ice. This is a small punishment that Naruto gave them with extra kindness. On the second day, almost all the members of the Ghost Guild had disappeared. Their entire guild was ordered to be dissolved by the Magic Council. President Joseph also removed the title of Holy Ten. The members were panicked, for fear of other guilds. Come down and beat down the scumbags, so most of them disbanded themselves. Only a few people with a little conscience left to take care of Tilong and them. Facing these ice cubes, their hearts were also deeply afraid of Naruto's power. The Tilong in the ice cubes and the others are the strongest wizards in the entire guild, but they were also instantly defeated by that guy, and even ended up being frozen in such a way that they are not even qualified to save others. Is this the power of the upper-class mages? It really makes me tremble just thinking about it. And at this moment, in a luxurious manor somewhere, a middle-aged man with a beard was sitting in the huge office with a gloomy face, lowering his head and pondering, "I didn't expect that even the ghost's ruler would fail. What a waste." Quote. After thinking for a while, he sighed, picked up the pen and wrote a letter. The location of the Fairy Tale Guild. Everyone is taking the time to build their own guild. Taking advantage of this incident, after discussing with everyone, the president unanimously decided to expand the size of the guild and add more facilities to make the guild more luxurious and comfortable. Everyone is working hard for this at this time. At this time, Urza turned into a supervisor, directing everyone to work with a serious face. Naruto watched everyone busy, but there was nothing to do in his hands. He was thinking, should he use Mokuton, wood style, to help everyone build it? In this way, it will be known to everyone that he will use wood magic again. With the addition of so many before, it seems that he knows a little more magic. Isn't this a bit high profile? Thinking like this, Urza's voice rang from the side. Naruto, help me bring the wood over there. Urza ordered him in a gentle tone. Naruto was embarrassed and refused to agree. After answering, he moved the wood over, and Elsa directed the others to work with great interest. What an almighty fairy queen. Naruto laughed involuntarily. It was busy until the evening, when everyone stopped work and went home one after another. Naruto was walking back alone. Originally, he wanted to go back with Urza, but she said that there were still some things on the construction site that she needed to deal with, so she didn't stay with her. It's been a day and a night, the effect of freezing should have passed, and those guys should also come out, but there seems to be no news from the Magic Council. I don't know what they will do next. What measures are there? Naruto muttered to himself as he walked. What happened that day? Naruto knew that he had offended the Magic Council. Although he didn't know how it would affect the guild, he would undoubtedly be targeted by them in the future. However, Naruto didn't pay too much attention to this matter. Now that the conflict has not intensified, those guys would never dare to take action against themselves, unless they were very clever. After all, Naruto also knows that his strength has been gradually revealed, and this time after defeating Joseph, one of the top 10 magic guides, with an overwhelming advantage, his reputation has begun to spread, and there will be more people recognize his strength. And the Magic Council will never oppose a person with strength even stronger than the Holy Ten. The Magic Council will never take it lightly until their interests are not directly threatened. However, Naruto already has an eye in his heart. The so-called heart of defending people is indispensable. Even if it is only a small conflict now, no one will know what it will eventually evolve into. While thinking, Naruto suddenly stopped and looked at the corner ahead. You all come out, he suddenly said in a deep voice. As soon as the voice fell, 4 figures jumped out from the corner. It was important to block the road. The one headed was Tilong Gajalu. A smile appeared on Naruto's face. Sure enough, I guessed that you would come to me again. Humph. Of course. How could we give up so easily? Although you are strong, we have to prove our strength. Even if you fail in the end, do you still want to fight me? Yes, fighting the strong is our pursuit, said the fire element Tutumaru. Naruto smiled lightly. It seems that I have to fight today, right? Please fight us again, said Juvia. Looking at the firm expressions on the 4 people's faces, their bodies exuded a breath of unwillingness, and the magic power on their bodies became more tenacious under this belief. The power of magic is the power of the heart. Not without reason. Okay, in that case, I will fulfill your wishes, Naruto said, but I won't do it myself. All 4 were slightly taken aback. Naruto squeezed a strange seal in both hands, and the next moment, 4 branches suddenly appeared from his body, and the branches quickly turned into 4 figures. It is Mokuten, wood-style clone. 717, fighting the 4 again. What kind of magic is this? The 4 of them couldn't help but stunned. Seeing the 4 identical Naruto standing in front of them, the 4 of Tilong were shocked. It's not like a nostalgic body, but they can feel that everyone is not a phantom, but a real entity. If it is the mind-body, how can a person create 4 mind-bodies? Moreover, the feeling that these nostalgic bodies bring to people is also very powerful, which is simply impossible. Naruto's clone ability once again shocked them. These are my 4 clones. Let's wait until you defeat them first. Naruto yawned and said, I'll go back to sleep first, bye. Damn, the 4 of them couldn't help but look at each other with angry expressions in their eyes. This is Kai Guguo's underestimation. Use 4 clones to deal with yourself. Is this guy so busy? What is it if this is not a deliberate insult? At this moment, the hearts of the 4 were extremely unwilling and angry. They swear that they must defeat these 4 clones, and then go to teach Naruto's body together. Night, very quiet. But on this deserted street, there was a fierce battle. Naruto said he was going to sleep, but he did not go far, but lay on the top of another building and watched the battle between these people and his clones from a distance. Because of the fact that it is divided into 4, although Naruto's magic power is very powerful, he has deliberately controlled the magic power contained in each clone to a level comparable to Urza, so he cannot completely suppress the magic power at this time. This allows them to play to their heart's content and attack with all their might. Among the 4, the fire elemental attack is the sharpest. He wears a samurai sword, and the swordsmanship is very powerful. Every attack is aimed at Naruto's vitals. Once hit, the clone will definitely be fatally injured and disappear. And Tilong's attack was the most violent, and there were various rumblings in the battlefield, all of which were his masterpieces. The earth elemental Sol uses strange movements and attacks to deal with Naruto. He mainly uses earth-penetrating magic, and he haunts the ground around Naruto, looking for an opportunity to restrain Naruto with one blow. The water element Juvia uses water as the medium, and the destructive power of the high-pressure water blade is also quite good. In addition, her body can be transformed into a water element, and she is directly immune to physical attacks, so Naruto clone can't defeat her for a while. The strength is not bad. At least a little stronger than Nazguri, Naruto commented while watching their battle. Lucy returned home, and when she came to the door to open the door, she found a mail hanging on the door. Something was sent. I don't know who it is, Lucy muttered, and took out a letter inside with some anticipation. Back home, sitting on the sofa, Lucy got herself a drink, opened the letter and read it. She took a sip of her drink and opened the envelope with anticipation. There was only a piece of white paper inside, with a few lines written on it. After reading these words, Lucy was stunned on the spot, and the drink in her hand fell with a thud, spilling on her fair thighs. But, damn, Tai Long fell to the ground with bruises all over his body, his hair was scattered, and the surrounding streets had been damaged and riddled with holes. In this way, people nearby who heard the movement have begun to notice the direction here. In front of him, Naruto's clone stood quietly. Although there were some traces of battles on his body, it was still much better than Tilong, because he had almost no injuries, and Tilong was already powerless. Stand up. A clone is already strong to this point. You, who are you? Why are you so strong? Tilong roared at Naruto's clone unwillingly. Naruto's clone smiled faintly, because I have a reason to become stronger. In several other places, Tutuin, Sol, and Juvia were all unable to sit on the ground. Although their innate conditions were several times better than ordinary people, they still looked so immature in front of Naruto. Fire, completely restrained by Naruto's ice, has no use. The soil was restrained by Naruto's thunder, and as soon as Sol got into the ground, he was blasted out by Naruto's indiscriminate lightning strike. Water, not to mention, its own attack power is limited, so it can't pose too many threats to Naruto. The most important thing is that her water ability is not perfect, and Naruto has several ways to deal with it. Her way. When she wanted to elementalize water, Naruto's lightning struck directly, and even if she had turned into water, she was trembling all over by lightning. And his various water magics turned into ice cubes scattered on the ground before they touched Naruto's body. Therefore, Juvia's water is also the best to deal with. At this time, the four of them all fell at the feet of Naruto, without any strength to fight again. Looking at Naruto's clone, they couldn't defeat it. Even the clone needs to look up to the existence. How strong must this be? The four of them were completely convinced of Naruto at this time. The original unwillingness and anger had all turned into admiration and admiration for his strength after the failure. Even if it is a clone, it is still the degree to look up to. Watching Naruto clone turn into four branches, the four of them lay on the ground for a long time speechless. The information returned to Naruto's mind. He stood up, a faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and the figure disappeared on the top of the building the next moment. Naruto saw the magic of nature in their battles with Tilu, the metal of Tilu, the fire of Tutumaru, the soil of Sol, and the water of Juvia. It turns out that people in this world who can use the magic of nature are also not much. However, it seems that no one in this world has been able to return the natural magic to the source and become a higher level of energy. It seems that this must be explored by oneself. 718. Love at First Sight. The next day, Naruto got up early and came to the construction site. As expected, Urza has already started working hard there. Naruto was speechless at her serious drive, and couldn't help but ask her, "Elsa, don't you really like being a construction engineer? You really can change careers in your profession." Urza looked at him very seriously and said, "Because I can't do anything when the ghosts are attacking, so at least now I need to work harder when building the guild." When Naruto heard this, he shook his head and smiled helplessly. At this moment, he suddenly felt a special magic power in the dark, and he could not help frowning slightly. "Urza, I'll leave first," Naruto said to Urza. "Where are you going?" Urza asked. "It's nearby, and Ma-chan will be back." "Why haven't you left yet?" In the alley behind the guild, Naruto found the location of that special magic, which is Juvia, one of the four elements. Seeing that she hadn't left, Naruto couldn't help being a little surprised. I live near here," Juvia said with her head lowered. "What about the rest of the four elements?" Naruto asked again. "They've all left, and I'm the only one here." Juvia raised her head and looked at Naruto. "I'm here and you won't chase me, will you?" Naruto was stunned. "That won't happen, but if you want to do something unfavorable to the people of our guild, I will never forgive you lightly." Naruto shook his head and released a with momentum, he said in a deep voice. Juvia's heart skipped a beat, and she shrank from his aura. She quickly shook her head when she heard the words, and said, I will never do this. I'm just staying in this small town. That's it." Seeing that she was a little frightened, Naruto couldn't help shaking his head secretly. It seemed that his strength really shocked them. He stared at her for a while, and when he knew that Juvia couldn't stand Yuhi's heartbeat, he finally nodded and said, "Okay, I believe you." This time it was Juvia's turn to be stunned. I didn't expect him to believe in himself so easily. He was the enemy who had attacked their guild. They are two people on opposite sides. How could he be so tolerant and generous to himself? What's wrong? Naruto looked at her unbelievable expression and couldn't help asking, "Did I believe you?" No, it's just very surprising. Aren't we enemies before?" Juvia hurriedly shook her head and finally asked this question. Hearing this, Naruto showed a slight smile at the corner of his mouth, looking at her with a playful look. Looking at his handsome face and the clear blue eyes, Juvia's heartbeat suddenly accelerated, and for some reason there was an uncontrollable restlessness in his heart. "What does it feel like? Why is my heart beating wildly as if it was hit? What? Your face is so hot. Body temperature has also increased." No, This feeling is. Juvia suddenly covered her pretty face with her hands, and lowered her head abruptly to stop looking at him. At the same time, her heart was beating violently. Naruto didn't realize what happened to Juvia's strange behavior. He thought this guy was scared by himself. However, seeing her pitiful appearance, Naruto really didn't want to embarrass her anymore. As for her question, he just said lightly, "I'm not afraid of the entire ghost ruler, why would I be afraid of you? Girl." Juvia stared blankly at Naruto, her face red Yuhi. At this moment she was convinced that she was captured by this guy. Very handsome. How can you be so handsome? Two big Yuhi hearts suddenly appeared in her eyes, and she fell into a state of dementia. Okay, do you have anything else to do? It's best not to appear near our guild these few days. I won't care if anything happens. Naruto said that she was a little strange, and he said with a little strangeness in his heart. After finishing this sentence, I went back to the construction site. Is he caring about me? Are you worried that I'll be beaten up by other people in their guild? Well, so gentle, not only powerful, but also so gentle to himself. Really, Juvia is going to die happily. He is Juvia's rightful son. Until Naruto left for a long time, Juvia was still standing in the same place and fell into imagining, unable to return to his senses for a long time. Is this love at first sight? After a few days, Naruto really didn't notice that Juvia's breath appeared around the construction site. This situation continued for several days, and finally on the day when the guild construction was about to be completed, Naruto felt the breath of Juvia again. However, Naruto didn't pay much attention to it. What made him care was that Lucy didn't seem to have a lot of energy these days. She used to yell and complain no matter what she did. Lucy often saw her alone these days, sitting in the corner with a worried look on his face. At this time, in the corner of the guild that was about to be built, Naruto saw her sitting there alone again. Naruto thought about it for a while and walked towards him. "Lucy, what are you doing sitting here alone?" he said softly, sitting beside her with a smile. Lucy shuddered slightly, looked up at Naruto, with a reluctant smile on her face. "I'm fine, Naruto." I feel like it's going to rain," Naruto said suddenly. Why? Lucy asked. "Because your face is covered with clouds now. With this look, many people have been scared away." Naruto looked at him and smiled slightly. "If you have anything, just say it and listen to it. My heart is not good." Lucy looked startled, looked at Naruto for a while, and suddenly sighed. "Naruto, I am a sinner." Hearing this, Naruto frowned slightly. "Why do you say that?" You know, Lucy is usually a very cheerful and generous girl, but she suddenly said such heavy words at this time. What made her become like this? 719. Accompany Lucy home. Lucy lowered her head and said nothing. Naruto looked at her and felt more and more that something must have happened to her. "Lucy, if you have anything, just tell me, aren't we good friends? I will help you with anything." Naruto suddenly stretched out his hand to hold her weak shoulder and said. Lucy looked up at him, and suddenly she threw herself into Naruto's arms with a wow, and burst into tears. "Lucy." Naruto hugged her tender body and gently caressed her tender jade back with his palms, feeling pity and doubts at the same time. Is Lucy hurt by someone like this? At this moment, a figure at the gate of the guild was silently staring at the figures of Naruto and Lucy, and Silver Kiba bit. But, damn, Naruto, did Naruto like that blonde? Why is that? Juvia's first love. This is Juvia's first love. She bit her lower lip tightly, tears rolled in his eyes. Why is it raining? The people in the guild suddenly asked strangely. No, this is in the guild. How could it be raining? Naruto takes Lucy back to her home. Lucy, can you talk now? It's just the two of us here. Naruto sat with her on the sofa in the living room, softly persuading her. Seeing Naruto's gentle and patient appearance, Lucy couldn't help but feel a warm current in her heart and was very moved. She hesitated for a moment, and finally took out a letter from the drawer in the bedroom and handed it to Naruto. Naruto took a look and finally understood everything. It turned out that this letter was sent by Lucy's father, Jude Hatfilia. This surname, which Naruto has also heard before, is one of the most wealthy businessmen in this country, and his wealth can rival the country. When you saw the signature under the envelope, Naruto was also slightly taken aback. It turned out that Lucy was still the eldest daughter. And the content of the letter surprised Naruto even more. It turned out that the Ghost's ruler and Fairy Tail fought for no reason. One of them was to take Lucy away. It's a pity that because of Naruto's protection, they were unsuccessful over and over again, and it is best to be defeated by Naruto. On the letter, Jude made it very clear that he entrusted the guild with the task to the ghosts, and asked them to bring back Lucy by all means. Moreover, although he failed this time, he said that he would entrust another guild to come over again. At that time, Fairy Tail will face all the famous guilds in the world. This kind of thing, for Fairy Tail, is definitely a very head-scratching challenge. Unless, according to the letter, Lucy returned home and promised to marry another family. Your father. After Naruto read the letter, he looked down at Lucy and sighed slightly. Because of this, do you blame yourself as a sinner? Lucy nodded lightly. If it wasn't for me, the guild wouldn't have been attacked, and everyone was panicking, and Rebi was almost attacked by them. All of this was caused by me. Hearing this, Naruto pondered for a while, then suddenly smiled and said, Lucy, it's not your fault. What your father did has nothing to do with you, and, no matter what happens, you have to remember it. And our friends. At least I will definitely help you. What happened to Lucy is just a joke about Miss Qianjin being forced to marry. How could Naruto let such a thing happen? Even if Lucy was just an ordinary friend, he would help him, not to mention that she had known him for a while. Her lively and lovely personality, cheerful and charming appearance, were very attractive to him. How could she be allowed to participate in that inexplicable marriage? How ridiculous. At this moment, Naruto raised an unprovoked anger for no reason. When he saw that Lucy was going to marry someone else, he was already very upset. This kind of father, I really have to go and see him. The next moment, he suddenly said to Lucy, I'll go back with you. What? Lucy couldn't help but stunned. You want to go back with me? Yes, but don't worry, I will never let you attend that wedding. Whatever you want to do, just do it, and I will be your greatest help. Naruto looked into her eyes word for word said. Naruto. Hearing these words, Lucy couldn't help but be greatly moved. He didn't expect Naruto to be so kind to him. Did he mean to face his father with him? That terrible and arbitrary man. She finally pounced on Naruto again, her head resting on his broad shoulders and sobbing silently, but a reassuring smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Without further ado, lest Lucy's father send another guild to deal with Fairy Tail, Naruto suggested to go back together now. Lucy nodded, changed into casual clothes that day and went with Naruto to say goodbye to everyone in the guild. In order not to make the rest of the guild worry too much, the two of them did not tell the truth, but said that they would go back to visit relatives and let Naruto accompany them. However, the consequence of saying this is that Lucy was instantly greeted with envy, jealousy and hatred from a large group of women. Urza wanted to go too, but the president said helplessly that he would accompany her to a meeting in the past 2 days, so there was no way but to let Naruto go alone. As for Miragi and the others, they cannot do without the guild for the time being. After all, the guild has just been established, and there are still many places to improve its management. In this way, Naruto and Lucy got on the train back with some simple salutes. For Lucy, it was a journey home, and there were too many complicated emotions on the way. For Naruto, it was just a mission to get Lucy back safely. Turning her head to look at Lucy sitting beside her in the carriage, she looked at the scenery outside the carriage with a look of memories on her face. However, why is the corner of her mouth full of bitter taste? Naruto opened his mouth and wanted to ask her, but he didn't open his mouth after all, just kept silent with her. The train went on for a long time, and it finally arrived at its destination in the afternoon. Lucy's hometown. The mountains and rivers are beautiful here, and the environment is also very good along the way. After walking for a while, the two stopped at the gate of a huge manor. "Is this your home?" Naruto looked inside through the gate of the compound. It was a wide plaza, and behind it was a gorgeous castle, compared to the dupe that Naruto and Lucy had done before. The home is dozens of times more luxurious. Really rich. Naruto sighed slightly. When he has time, he really wants to build such a castle, and then he will take over all his women, and they will all live happily in it, doing things they love every day, or occasionally leaving home for travel. This kind of life is the life Naruto really wants. When Lucy heard the words, she just smiled faintly, looking helpless. In the eyes of outsiders, who is very glamorous, who knows the pain of living in this castle that others dream of since childhood. The so-called father has never given him a good face. Since his mother died, he has never felt love again. Thinking of the scenes when she was a child, Lucy couldn't help sighing, and the expression on her face became very lonely. 720. Jude's arrangement. Lucy's home is extremely luxurious. The entire manor is built with the best materials, and even the gate of the courtyard wall is engraved with various patterns. Naruto followed Lucy, observing the surroundings. At this time, an old woman who was sweeping the floor suddenly ran out of the yard and came to Lucy's side. After watching it carefully for a while, she finally shouted, "It's Miss. It's Miss. Miss Lucy is back." She suddenly burst into tears. "Miss Lucy, you are finally back safely. How wonderful. It's worrying you, Mrs. Spate," Lucy said apologetically. At this time, many servants ran over and surrounded Lucy, and one of the old men said tremblingly, "Miss Lucy, your magic has not fallen this year, right? Star spirit magic relies on love. Magic. Don't worry, I'm working hard," Lucy answered one by one. It seems that these servants are very fond of Lucy. Naruto smiled beside him. At this time, everyone noticed the existence of Naruto, and Mrs. Spate couldn't help but wonder, "Miss Lucy, is this a friend you met outside? What a handsome guy." Lucy smiled slightly, looked at Naruto and introduced to everyone, "This is a friend I met in the guild, and he is a very strong wizard. Miss Lucy, it looks like you had a good time outside." Seeing Lucy has such a handsome and powerful friend makes everyone happy for her. Suddenly, a servant whispered, "Miss Lucy has reached this age, and it is normal to find a boyfriend outside to elope." "I don't have it." Lucy glanced at Naruto and argued with a Yuhi face. "Miss, don't argue, you have brought your boyfriend home. Do you want to bring it back to the master this time?" "But, the master is not very good at talking." Seeing that everyone was getting darker and darker, Lucy was afraid that Naruto would be unhappy, so she couldn't help but ask, "Is father at home now?" "Oh, sir, he is in the study." At this time another servant came to deliver a message. "Miss Lucy, sir, he said he was waiting for you in the study." Lucy nodded, pulled Naruto and ran into the huge villa. What a bunch of lovely servants. Naruto smiled. "They're just talking nonsense." "Naruto, don't mind," Lucy Yuhi said with a sullen face. Naruto smiled lightly, "But your father is really cold enough." Lucy's expression darkened. Yes, it's rare for her daughter to come back, and she only said, "I'll be waiting for you in the study." Looking at her lonely demeanor, Naruto took her hand and shook it gently. "Don't worry, there is me." There was a soft smile on Lucy's face. As soon as the two entered the hall, a lovely maid ran out and saw Lucy wearing a casual outfit, a tight vest on the upper body and a short black skirt on the lower body, and hurriedly pushed her into the dressing room. "Naruto, I'm going to change clothes, you wait here for a while," Lucy shouted towards the Naruto ward. Naruto nodded and turned around in the hall. The hall of this villa is very spacious and looks resplendent, with huge branches of Jinchuriki column, surrounded by several floors of corridors and luxuriously decorated. After watching for a while, there was a slight sigh behind him. Naruto turned his head, but his eyes lit up. I saw that Lucy had already changed her clothes and came out. She was wearing a gorgeous off-shoulder long dress, which was inlaid with various colors of lace. The waist of the long dress was also tied with a bow, which was gorgeous and extraordinary. Her long hair was also curled up behind her head, revealing that long and fair neck, but Naruto found that Lucy's face was not so cheerful, as if full of disappointment. Putting back on this eldest lady's outfit, does it seem like she has returned to the canary in her former cage? Naruto felt a little pity. No matter what happened next, he would ensure Lucy's freedom. The two came to the door of the study. The door was closed, but not locked. Lucy hesitated for a while, and looked at it and stopped talking. Naruto looked into her eyes and smiled slightly. Although this is your family matter, as a friend, I think it's better to face your father with you. He took Lucy's hand and opened it. The door of the study went in with her. Lucy was stunned for a moment, and couldn't help being a little dazed. After entering the door, Naruto let go of Lucy's hand and let Lucy step forward. Next to the desk in front of him, stood a tall middle-aged man with a cloudy face. Lucy, do you know how to come back to this house? A stern voice with suppressed anger came, and Lucy lowered her head deeply and bowed slightly. I'm sorry, my father, I left the house without saying anything. I'm very sorry. I've also deeply reflected on this matter. Lucy said humbly. Naruto was slightly surprised. Could it be that Lucy is going to submit to her father? Lucy's father said coldly, you have become mature, and it is quite wise to be able to recognize your own mistakes. Lucy lowered her head and didn't speak, but Naruto could clearly see her lip clenched. Jude continued, if you continue to stay in that guild, I will destroy it with money and power. You have seen how much trouble your willfulness has brought to the people around you, right? Naruto frowned. After a pause, Jude did not wait for Lucy to respond, and then said, this time I came back, not for anything else, but for your marriage. I have already negotiated your marriage for you. It's Chorini, the young master of the Earth family, Duke Longwei. As I said before, he is very interested in you, right? Hearing this, Lucy said with an expressionless face, I said it once. Well, that's good. Through the marriage of the Chiranier family, the Hatfilia Railroad will gain access to the south. This is a very important marriage for us. Also, you have to give birth. Just get the boy, so that he can inherit the Hatfilia family. Jude continued to talk about his plan, and every word seemed to have been arranged very well for Lucy, but Naruto heard all this. But very funny.